Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 3 to What If Naruto Had Ultra Instinct. This is also most likely going to be the last part, so, like and subscribe for that. It's pretty cool, yeah? I know, my like and subscribe beggings have not gotten any better, but they will eventually. So, anyway, with that being said, let's just jump right into the What If itself without any further ado. So, they had just returned to the village, and they begin their, light training, whatever. Like, they're just doing random things around the village before Kakashi approaches them with something pretty interesting. It's not a mission or anything like that, but it is something that they probably are going to want to do, which is obviously the Chunin exams, which is now upcoming. So, a couple weeks have passed, they keep training. Naruto extends his timer by like a minute or two because, it isn't that fast yet. He's not like a master at it or anything like that. And eventually, it would actually come around where the Chunin exams would start. So starting off with the written portion of the exam, it would actually go quite differently for Naruto at least, because he's a lot more intelligent in this What If, as I've been saying, so he would easily be able to pass the written part without having to cheat or do anything. He just kind of answers all of the questions and moves on with his life as if it wasn't a trick. They weren't supposed to be able to answer the questions, he just was able to. So they move on to the next part because, they didn't fail. Naruto's just a G like that. And what actually ends up happening as they move on to the next part is obviously the Forest of Death. So with them moving on to this next little part of their lives and everything like that, Anko comes smashing through the window and explains exactly what it is. It's a forest, and their goal is not to die, basically. Yeah, you have to get a scroll, but everything can kill them there, so they're a little bit nervous about that fact. But they continue on to the actual Forest of Death itself, and everybody, kind of darts off into different directions. So, like I said in the last part, Naruto wouldn't really have any sensory abilities, I guess you could say, but he would be able to sense hostile intent towards him when he's using Ultra Instincts, but he's not using it at this point, so it wouldn't really matter. So they head off into the woods, and everything goes pretty normally. They're just walking along, kind of chilling, till eventually, the actual original things would happen, where Orochimaru eventually does decide, hey, I kind of want to steal that young Uchiha Bobby. So he goes and he's like, alright, I'm gonna yoink that. So he takes, he doesn't actually take his body. You get the point though. He's he shows up, Snake shows up, Naruto absolutely demolishes the snake, that's the only difference, and Orochimaru himself comes out. Naruto decides that, he wants to have a little bit of fun with this. While still in base form, he's fighting with Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is really surprised by Naruto's strength. He's like, what the fuck is this? Why is this guy so strong? He's stronger than Kakashi kind of a thing. And, they continue on like this for a while until Naruto decides, alright, this guy's real strong, so I'm gonna have to get serious here. And he activates Ultra Instinct, which can now probably last around half an hour at this point. So, with this, he absolutely shits. He completely shits on, Orochimaru, because he can't really do anything about this. It's really interesting trying to make an interesting what if around this, just because of how overpowered that technique would be in Naruto, and this is after I nerfed it. So, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah. Now, Naruto, like I was saying, is just completely demolishing Orochimaru at this point. Orochimaru can't land a single hit, and the ones that say somehow, some way he managed to land a blow on Naruto, he wouldn't even feel the impact of it. That's how much stronger he is than him. He's on a completely different plane of existence at this point comparatively to Orochimaru. So he dodges out of the way a little bit, kind of messing around a little bit with Orochimaru before pretty much one-shotting him to the ground and completely knocking him out. It turns out that, they did end up finding the right scroll, so they return back and they're like, oh, by the way, who's this guy? He seemed pretty strong and he really wanted to kill us. And Kakashi looks, because, he got summoned out of the scroll once they arrived, and, mind you, they were the first to arrive, they arrived after a few hours or so. And Kakashi looks, he's like, that unconscious body you guys have been dragging around is actually Orochimaru, like an S-rank ninja who's been like terrorizing the Leaf for literal years now, and nobody's really been able to, you know, find him, keep a track of him, or even defeat him in the first place. And Naruto's like, oh, he's right over there. By the way, just in case you guys didn't know that, Kakashi's like, oh, pretty sure you're gonna be a rich man, Naruto, with the bounty that Orochimaru would have on his head at this point. Naruto's like, oh, cool. So Naruto proceeds to go to the Hokage office with, you know, Kakashi, and they report to Hiruzen exactly what Naruto just did. Now, Hiruzen, hearing that Naruto was able to defeat Orochimaru, like, Naruto doesn't, like, flex, like, he's like, yeah, I use probably about 1 to 0.5% of my power actually trying to fight him. No, he doesn't, like, flex like that. He's like, yeah, I fought him, and I actually managed to take him down. He's not trying to flex or anything like that. And Hiruzen's like, bro, why is this kid so strong? He's literally stronger than me because Orochimaru's as strong as me. So he's trying to, like, comprehend this fact that this genin is actually, you know, more powerful than him. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna just let you proceed with the Chunin exams. And he gives Naruto just this absolutely massive sum of money because, okay, imagine the bounty Hiruzen, what the heck am I talking about? Imagine the bounty Orochimaru would have on his head. It would be absolutely massive. So Naruto gets some monies from this. So he returns back to, like, the Chunin exam, and he actually explains to his teammates that, yeah, he's kind of strong now. You know, Hinata and Sasuke's like, so I have a lot of fucking money, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm like one of the richest ninjas in the village at this point, just from doing that. So how does that make you feel? He's like taunting them at this point. He's just like, he's laughing a little bit inside of his head. He's like, yeah, technically speaking, I could retire. And everybody's like, why is everything so good for you, Naruto? Why are you so strong in the first place? And Naruto was like, you know, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know. But there's that power that I can use, I like it a lot. And I'm gonna keep using it. So the Chunin exams continues on. Naruto, let's be honest, would completely demolish Kiba in this fight. And there is actually one difference here, and that being Hinata actually wins her fight. You might be wondering, what? But Neji was stronger, and I was like, yeah, but you have to also remember that Hinata has been training with Naruto, who's like hundreds, maybe he's like thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of times more powerful than herself. So it's like, she might get a little bit stronger from that, from training with such an absolute beast of a man. So she gets stronger from that, and that actually allows her to be able to defeat Neji through said training. So Sasuke obviously has an easier time with his fight because he never actually got, like, the curse mark and stuff, plus he activated, like, the Sharingan at a younger age and developed more jutsu, and, you know, that's such because of how much stronger Naruto was than him. So he absolutely, you know, pretty easily wins his fight, and the next, you know, month of training goes by pretty normally, except Naruto doesn't actually go with Jiraiya. So Kakashi ends up training Sasuke, and Naruto and Hinata go off into the forest to actually train a little bit. Yeah, you guys see what I'm doing here. You already know who the ship is, so don't try to comment it. Come on, get out of here. I mean, you can try to comment it. Like, I'm not going to complain if you comment a bunch, but, you know, I'm just saying it's pretty obvious who I think, who I'm planning on having it be. Unless I, for some reason, change my mind later, but I don't think that's going to happen. So they begin their training, and it starts off pretty light. Naruto's not trying to go, like, way too hard on, like, okay, that sounds so bad, but you get the point. He's not trying to, like, absolutely sounds worse. He's not trying to, like, kill her, pretty much. So he goes easy on her from, like, the start, but Hinata eventually asks Naruto, I don't want you to hold back anymore. I want to see your full power, and I want you to punch me with it. I want to see if I can even, like, see it with my Byakugan. Like, she's like, yeah, come on, do it. Naruto's like, alright, I'll do it. Except for the fact that he's not actually gonna do it. He's holding back massively, but he does activate Ultra Instinct, and he's like, alright, I'll use as much power as I used in my punch against Orochimaru, just to see what you can do about it. And Naruto, you know, does this, and it completely knocks Hinata out. She just falls over to the fucking ground, and she's completely unconscious. She wakes up hours later, and they continue doing this. Naruto obviously would slow down his punches and make them less powerful, and eventually they would both begin, strengthening over time. Hinata especially would be the one benefiting from this because her eyes and the rest of her body are actually adapting to how fast and how strong Naruto is. So in response, she would do the exact same thing. It's kind of like the same concept I said in part 1, where Naruto's body would get, more powerful because of how strong Ultra Instinct was. It goes to Hinata too, just at a lesser extent because it's not as direct. So now, this is where they would truly start their, actual bonding experience, because, Hinata's had, a major crush on Naruto for the longest time, but she's never actually been able to admit it. She doesn't really want to, because, why would she? So, this is where they first begin those, developments, I guess you could say. So they begin talking to each other a bit more, other than just training, talk like that. And Naruto actually finds out that Hinata just absolutely loves ramen, maybe even more than he does. So Naruto decides, alright, I'm taking you to Ichiraku's ramen shop then. So they take a break for that day of the training. They go get cleaned up because they're probably really dirty and smelling stuff. So, they go take a shower and they get all cleaned up and they go out to Ichiraku's ramen shop. So with them actually eating there, it eventually comes to the point where both of them have ate so many bowls of ramen that they're Ichiraku's about to be out of business, and then Naruto brings up something interesting. He's like, hey, you want to see who can eat more? Both of them are probably about at their 23rd bowl at this point of ramen, and they're like, you know what, sure, let's do it. Let's see who can actually, eat more ramen. They start doing this, and eventually Hinata is actually the one to win, just like what actually happened in Boruto, I think it was, or was it the last? I can't remember, but whatever. You get the point. Hinata ends up actually winning, and this massively impresses Naruto because, nobody's been able to beat him in, anything ever. And, even if it is something as, simple as, a ramen eating contest, this is a good thing for Naruto to have because it also means that he knows that even if it isn't necessarily in strength, there are people who are above him in different aspects of life and different things just because of how their nature is and stuff like that. Naruto realizes this and he's like, alright, that's gonna be a good thing to actually, remember. So Naruto and Hinata go back to the training grounds. They're just walking and they're talking along the way. It's a nice full moon that night. It's shining down on them. They're walking down, and Naruto, thinking that he's getting this amazing idea because he thinks that Hinata's into him or something like that. He's like, I mean, she is, but Naruto reaches down and grabs Hinata's hand as they're walking down. Hinata blushes just massively at this, and she doesn't actually go completely unconscious from this. With all of the time she's been spending around Naruto at this point, she actually has, developed that to the point where she's not just gonna immediately pass out. Yeah, she still turns into a tomato, but it's not as bad. So, they continue walking like this, and for 5 minutes, Naruto just holds Hinata's hand, and Hinata's sitting there like a fucking tomato because, she can't really calm down because of this. Every once in a while, she, glances down at her hand and then back up at Naruto. She's like, Naruto-kun, and eventually he finally does answer. He's like, alright, Hinata. What? Come on. This isn't that much. I just grabbed your hand. Come on. This isn't that bad. And she's like, well, you want to do something more? And Naruto's like, he perks up at this a little bit. He's like, excuse me? But what was that? And Hinata's like, well, not anything big, just can I have a hug? And Naruto's like, sure, I guess. So they do that, and this is where Hinata's breaking point is. She goes unconscious at this point. She just falls over, and they wake up the next day with Hinata actually just kind of laying there, just kind of right next to Naruto. She blushes a little bit, but she gets up, and they start their training, and nothing more really happens, or nothing more actually ends up happening. They still hug and hold hands and stuff. They're trying to get into that 13-year-old mindset of being a couple, which is like the most awkward thing in the world. They're still trying to get used to it, but they are kind of dating at this point. You know, it's a relationship, I guess you could say. So the next part of the Chunin exams would come around at this point. So with that, they would begin that. So with Neji not actually advancing to the next part, that means that Hinata's gonna fight Naruto here. So Naruto, you know, he's going easy on her. It's his girlfriend. Like, they've been training for a little bit, but he's never actually used his full power on her, obviously, like, at max 1%. So he decides that, alright, he's gonna show her what he's truly made of, along with the rest of the villages that are going to be surrounding him. So Naruto stands in the middle of the, you know, exam thing, and Hinata's standing at the very back, opposite side of Naruto, and Naruto holds up his hand, telling her to stop for a second. He wants to show off a little bit. Hinata wonders what Naruto's about to do because she doesn't really know. She's never seen Naruto's full power before, so she doesn't expect there to be some, like, big showcase of it. So Naruto closes his eyes as his hair turns white and his eyes turn silver, but you know, they can't see that because Naruto's eyes are closed. But then this massive aura of heat erupts around Naruto as it rises high into the sky, just making this massive, like, I don't even know what to even call it at this point, but it is just huge. Like, they can't see where it starts, where it ends. It's just seemingly infinite. Naruto continues powering up, kind of yelling a little bit as he goes, because, you know, like, even though Ultra Instinct is like this calm state of mind, yelling isn't necessarily mean you're, like, angry or anything like that. It just means that, like, it's kind of like punching somebody or, like, lifting something really heavy. Your body just kind of, like, naturally makes noises to, like, help you do, like, help you get, like, the motivation to be able to do it. So Naruto's yelling at this point as he powers up. The heat around Naruto's body intensifies as everybody backs away from him. Hinata, still being like probably 20-30 yards away from Naruto at this point, is feeling the heat the most out of anybody there. She's backing up, trying to go away from Naruto as fast as she possibly can, but right as the heat had appeared, it disappeared again, as the aura receded back into Naruto's body, and he stood there in a fighting stance. He then appeared behind Hinata, giving her a neck chop, and she immediately falls to the ground. All of the Kage, who are currently there, look at Naruto in absolute astonishment and awe of what he had just done. That was crazy. Like, what was that? How did he, like, was that some kind of, like, fire style technique? Because it seemed just like raw power. That was just, it was just amazing. They're so confused. They don't understand. They don't get it at all. Like what was that? Naruto, obviously, at this point, would not be a Chunin. He would be immediately appointed as a Jonin because of just how massively, not only intellectual he is, but just how powerful he is in general. But this does one other thing. It also makes the other villages, along with the Akatsuki and Obito, aware of Naruto's power and just how absolutely overwhelming it is. A 5 Kage summit is held shortly after, except it's only with 4 of the Kage. They never requested the Leaf Village to go. This is concerning for Hiruzen, to say the absolute least. And another thing, the attack on the sand never happened because Orochimaru got captured, or he's dead. I don't even know which it is, but the attack on the sand never even happens. And if it does, Naruto would be able to stop it literally immediately by absolutely demolishing Gaara. So that doesn't really even matter. So cutting forward a few weeks to the actual Kage summit that is being held between all of the villages except for the Leaf, they're discussing what they're going to do, or what their plan is to do against the Leaf. And as they're discussing this, somebody interrupts. This actually being Obito. This is because, the summit is held early. He might as well announce his plans early, except it's a little bit different this time. With feeling just how absolutely just this raw power from Naruto, he decided that he might actually help the ninja villages in defeating Naruto before then, betraying them and, fighting against it. Or them. specific. But he realizes that the only way that it would be feasibly possible to defeat Naruto would be to become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, or for Madara to become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. He realizes this, so he goes to the Kage Summit with a new offer, becoming allies with them in order to defeat Naruto. The only thing, or not only thing, but the thing he would need in return is all of the Jinchuriki of those villages. He explains the plan, and they realize that they have like no other way to do anything against this. Naruto is just that powerful that they just kind of have to trust this guy, even if they had like some way to like prove that he was lying, which he isn't, because he's just not. Like, that technically is like the only feasible way to be able to do it from what they've been able to sense. And they realize that, okay, we might actually have to do this. All of the different ninja villages give up their Jinchuriki to Obito, meaning he has the 1 through 8 tails. So this just leaves the 9 tails, which they actually do have a portion of from Kinkaku and Kinkaku. So they actually summon the 10 tails early. Obito, gets somebody, or he uses himself to stab his heart, and he becomes the 10 tails Jinchuriki, never even reviving Madara in the first place, thinking it wouldn't be necessary. He then decides just to he doesn't really have to wait until after he, gets Naruto to be able to get rid of the rest of the villages, so he decides, might as well do that now, as he goes around and pretty much eradicates all of the 4 villages before then going over to where the Leaf Village is. You may be wondering, how he wouldn't be able to do that. The Raikage or Gaara, whoever you think might be strong, they are absolutely nothing to him because of the fact that he's on 8th Gate Guy and Sage of 6 Paths kind of shit level. Nobody's gonna touch him. It's like how Hokage Naruto made everybody else just kind of alright, I'm a back up because I'm kind of scared of you and what you're capable of. Is kind of like that. He just absolutely obliterates everybody, and they don't even know that he was going to do it. They have suspicion of it, but they didn't have any time to prepare for it. So all of the villages get completely wiped out by Obito as the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and eventually he does set upon the Leaf Village. Now, obviously speaking, the Leaf Village heard of this this massive, overwhelmingly powerful person going around to all of the villages, but they heard it too late, so they didn't really have, anybody to go send and help because they didn't know about it at first. So, with Obito actually showing up, he had already, gotten rid of everybody else. He's pretty much, it's him and the Leaf Village. Nobody else really remains other than, normal villagers. So, he kind of killed, almost everybody. Or put them in a genjutsu, he pretty much just incapacitated the entire world except for the Leaf Village. So as he descends upon the Leaf Village, dual Renegon, and all that kind of stuff, he can also use Kamui, because I don't know why they didn't have that in the original other than the fact that he just would have been too strong for everybody to defeat. So he also is able to use Kamui in this. So with him being this powerful, a much stronger version than what was in the original, just because it has more of the different tailed beast chakra, along with the fact that he can use Kamui on top of it, he descends down on the village. Now, nobody, and I mean nobody, except for Naruto, is going to be able to face this guy, and everybody realizes that almost immediately. A few ninja go out to fight him and get absolutely shit-stomped before Naruto decides, alright, he's gonna have to get involved here. He goes out and he decides that, alright, he's just gonna face this one man in a 1v1 fight. So he activates Ultra Instinct, realizing that this is his strongest opponent ever, and decides that if this is his strongest opponent ever, he might as well show them what true fear is, true power. He then powers up, as once again Obito sees that massive amount of just raw power exuding off of Naruto in every which direction, and he looks towards Naruto now, and he realizes that he might have made a mistake. Naruto might still be too strong, even though he got this much more powerful. So he decides, fuck it, I can't do anything else anyway, this is about as strong as I'm gonna be, as he charges forwards toward Naruto, and their fight is somewhat of a fight, like more so than any other in the series, because of the fact that Naruto has a lot more trouble actually hitting Obito because of Kamui, but because of Naruto's raw speed, if he did decide to use like any portion of his true power, he would be able to completely outspeed Obito's reaction time, and he wouldn't be able to phase through anything unless he was just like constantly phasing his entire body, but that takes time to do. He can't just warp himself away instantly, as we were shown in his fight against Madara. So Obito dies here. He just absolutely dies, and all of the different okay, what is going to happen to the Ten Tails after Obito dies? Well, it would take a few years for it to reincarnate, and when it does, there's one of two things that would happen. One would be that like the Sage of Six Paths would like incarnate himself into the world to like resplit it, or Naruto would just kill it with, he'd just do it over and over again, or become like the Jinchuriki of it, realizing that that's the only way to truly make it go away. So Naruto does this, and eventually, towards the end of his lifespan, after marrying Hinata, having kids, becoming the Hokage, repopulating all the different villages, or not, you know what I mean, just kind of not spreading his genes, but spreading the love, probably not. That's okay. But eventually Naruto goes into seclusion. He's a very old man at this point, and he decides that the best way to get rid of the Ten Tails, or the Jinchuriki at all, from this world would be to seal himself. That way, when he eventually did die, it would make the Ten Tails be in a seal as well. So Naruto does this, and eventually he does exactly that. Naruto is reaching the end of his life, and he had been developing a technique for years to be able to make a seal powerful enough to not only keep him, but the Ten Tails entrapped. At least when he's not using full power Ultra Instinct, he could easily escape from it, but that's okay. It only needs to be strong enough for the Ten Tails, because Naruto's not going to be the one trying to escape from it. So eventually Naruto would die, the Ten Tails would be sealed inside of whatever the concocted seal Naruto made was, and the villages would pretty much be at peace with that, because there's no actual really powerful ninjas anymore. So for a few years the villages would be at peace with one another, they'd be helping each other out, but eventually, because of the fact that Naruto disappeared and all of those factors combined, the villages would probably just redo the cycle, and eventually Zetsu would be able to get new people to be able to do the Kaguya plan, and that would probably happen eventually, but that's not my problem. So I'll see you guys in the next part, and peace out.